Okay, welcome back. Next thing we need to do in this top-down space shooter is add in the events that control what happens when the enemies touch the player, or if the enemy shoots if the player shoots the enemy. So let's start with the player shooting the enemy, because why would we start? Well, why would we start by losing when we can start by winning? So in order to shoot this thing, we need bullets. So we're going to have to double click, and we're going to have to add another sprite. We can click anywhere you like. Now the bullets we're going to make 2 by 2 because they're going to be much smaller than the player. And these bullets are going to be, let's make them green. Well, you can make yours whatever color you want, but I'm going to make mine green because the spaceship's green. So, you know, consistency. Let's give it a name, SPR_bullet. And we're going to need to give it a behavior, and that behavior is going to be the bullet behavior. Makes sense, right? Now remember, I told you in the last episode that the angle system on construct means by default everything flies to the right. That's where 0 is. So you can see the bullet there went straight off to the right hand side. So we need to tell the bullet what direction to go in the event sheet. I also want to add in, I want to put the enemy out there. I also want to add in 2 behaviors for these enemies that stop the system from counting them when they're outside the layout. So let's add a behavior to the enemy first, add a new one, and we're going to say destroy outside of layout. So as soon as this thing goes outside of the layout, it's going to destroy itself. And the reason we do that is because when we're shooting these bullets towards enemies, if we miss, they're going to fly off outside the screen, and they're effectively going to be still in the game, and the system's going to be counting them even if they're thousands and thousands of pixels away. 5 minutes into the game, they're still going to be relevant, which is going to take up processing power. So let's add another behavior, and we're going to say destroy outside of layout. So as soon as we miss and it flies off the screen, it destroys itself and is no longer relevant, which is going to help us down the line. Right, so now let's add an event that controls shooting. So we're going to go add an event, and we're going to use the mouse, and we're going to say on click. So on anything, on any click. Well, not on any click, but on click. So it doesn't matter what we're clicking. And you can change this to middle, right, left. I'm going to choose left. So for example, if you had 2 weapons, you could have left weapon is like the machine gun, or you could have right click, which would be, throw bombs or whatever. We're just going to say left click now, and you can choose click or double click. It's just going to be click on left click. And then we're going to say add action, and we are going to say player, and we're going to get that player to spawn in the bullet. Spawn another object. That object's going to be the bullet at layer 0, image point 0, and we're going to click done. Now when we play it, you'll see every time we click, the player shoots a bullet. But there are no more enemies coming in, which is strange. So let's figure out why that is. We haven't given that any behaviors. In our event sheet, we've got the enemy moving too. Let's just pop him there. It might be the fact that we destroyed it and it didn't recognize it as an object anymore. So now we should be able to. There we go, they're coming in, that's fine. It's because we destroyed it outside the layout. The way we can get away with that, if you don't want this to be in the game to start with, all you do is create another layout. And I'm a bit reluctant to do it because I'm aware we've got limits on what we can add. If we add layout only, you can call this layout objects. And then what you would do is you would just cut that and paste it in there so it loads in with the game. And now that shouldn't be an issue. Now we should be able to wait 3 seconds and see those enemies spawning in. There we go. Fine. We can keep it on there for now. If we need to cut that back later, we will do, but we'll just see how we go. Right, so now we've got the player shooting. Now we need to tell the system what to do if the bullet hits the enemy. So add an event. I'm going to say sprite bullet, and we can come down and say on collision with another object. On collision with enemy. Very simply, we're going to say enemy, and we're going to start typing in destroy, and we're going to hit destroy. And now when the bullet hits the enemy, the enemy gets destroyed. But you can see the bullet goes straight through the enemy, and that doesn't look very nice. So let's also destroy the bullet. So add an action. I'm going to say bullet, and we're going to say destroy. But we need a scoring system. We're going to need a way to tally up what kind of score we have. And I think I've decided now at this point that I'm not going to enable the player to move around, because it is a free game. It was in the free edition, and having it move around would just eat up more of our events that I don't want to use right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the width and the height of the layout to match the width and the height of our viewport, which is 320 by 180. And now it all tucks in nice and neatly onto one screen here. So let's add in a HUD, and with the free version you can add in 2 layers. So I'm going to use my second layer now. I'm going to call it HUD, and this is where all the overlay is going to be and the text. So let's double click. Let's add a tiled background. Click anywhere you like. I'm going to change it to 16 by 16. And I like to add a little bit of fanciness to my HUDs. So I'm going to go and select the purple color like we had with the background. I'm going to select a very dark color of that, and I'm going to draw a box around the outside. And then I'm going to go slightly lighter. I'm going to draw a box just inside that box, and then I'm going to select the outside color again, and I'm going to fill it in. And now you'll see that my HUD looks a little bit nicer. We also want to snap this to grid, so at the moment I can move it freely wherever I want to. I'm going to say show grid, and I'm going to say snap to grid, but I'm going to change the grid size to 4 by 4. And I'm going to line it up at the top here, drag it all the way across there. And now I'm going to take the grid off, and I want to make sure that it's a multiple of 16 so it doesn't cut anything off. But that's probably a bit too big actually. That's probably fine for the HUD. Let's just see what that looks like. That's obviously going to sit on top of the game, and now my enemies aren't spawning in again. And of course the reason that these things are not coming in anymore is because I've set them to destroy themselves outside of the layout, and these spawners are outside the layout. So go back to our objects. Sometimes it's simple little things that trip you up. Click on the enemy, click on the behavior, get rid of destroy outside of layout, because they're only ever going to move towards the middle of the screen anyway, so we're not going to be overwhelmed with them. That should now work absolutely fine. Oh, I've clicked on there. Also I need to add back in my HUD layer up here. Let's snap it in. While we're here, actually, let's give it another name. I'm going to call it TB for tile background underscore HUD BG. You might think of a better name than that, but that's what I'm going with, HUD BG. And let's try it out. There we go. One flying in from the bottom left, from the top right. Yep, fine. Fine. So you can see they're moving in quite nicely, and all we need to do now is create a way to score how many we have killed. So on the HUD layer, double click. Let's add in some text. You get an ugly little default text here, which is awful. Let's see if we can import fonts. We can import fonts. So let's head over to defont.com. I'm going to show you how to import some fonts. Let's accept that. So let's go to bitmap, pixel art and bitmap. What I like to do is I like to filter it by 100% free, public domain. So then there's never any confusion on where you can use them and what you can use them for. So let's just search 100% free, and then you can scroll down. You can pick any font you like. These are all pretty decent. I'm going to pick, let's go with the bubble ones. I'm going to click download. Download them, you'll get them in a little folder in your downloads. Navigate to where you downloaded them. I've just put them in a folder on my desktop called fonts. Right click and you want to extract them. Just extract all. And then it's going to give you that extracted folder. I then just dump the original zip because everything we need is in there anyway. Then you want to go back. Then you go back to construct and we want to come down to the fonts folder, right click, and we're going to import fonts, and then you click on import fonts and just navigate to where that file is, and then just double click it. It's going to import it, click import, and there it is. It shows up in your fonts folder. Now we can use that font. So we click on the text, we come down here to font, you'll have this option underneath now that says pick a web font, and we've got that one that we installed right there, so we can click on that one, and there it is. It shows up nicely. I'm going to change the color to white, and I'm going to change the size to half the size to 6. I am going to not say bold or italic. I am going to say horizontal alignment left, and I'm going to say vertical alignment center, so it's in the middle, and then I'm going to pop it up here in the top left hand corner, and the default text is going to be 0. There. Now back on our event sheet, oh, 1 second, let's give it a name. At the moment it's just text. I'd like to name my text files txt underscore and then give a description what it is. So I'm going to say score. Now let's come back to our event sheet, and we're going to need to create a global variable that controls that. So add a global variable, let's just call it score. It's going to be a number, it's going to start at 0. Now every time a bullet collides with an enemy, we're going to add another action, and we're going to say system, and we're going to say add to the score. Now, one last thing we need to get done before that works is under every tick, we need to tell this score object, we need to tell it to update itself every tick to set itself to whatever the global variable is. So we're going to add an action, and we're going to say text score, and I want to go down and I want to set the text of this object, and we can set it to whatever we want, but like we did with the spawn speed, we're going to set it to that global variable, and you can see it's a global variable because of the globe. We're going to set it to score. So now every time we kill one, that score number is going to go up by 1. So where are these going to be flying in for? There's 1, 2, 3, there you go, and so on. And they're going a bit fast at the moment for level 1. So we need to set a variable to control that speed. How many have we got? We've got 14 events left. Let's right click. Let's say a variable called enemy speed. So we've got spawn speed, and now we've got enemy speed. I'm going to drag that up underneath so that they're next to each other. The enemy speed is going to be a variable. Now at the moment you can see, if we click on the objects, we go to this little enemy here, its default speed is 200, and that is way too fast. We don't need to change that there. We can simply go back and we can change that in the event sheet. So I'm going to set enemy speed to, let's set it to 75. That's going to be nice and slow. And now under our every tick event here, we can add an action, and we can say enemy, and we can come down to our move to, and we can say set speed, and again we can now, like we did before, we can set it to the global variable enemy speed. So now the variables at the top are controlling everything in the game, which means that we can add difficulty rather easily without having to change any hard coding. So now these are going to come in much slower. There they are, and we can shoot them. There's 1, there's 2. Now we need to set up a system that controls our difficulty. Let's add in another global variable to control what level we're on, and I'm going to call this level, and the initial value is going to be 1 because we're going to start at level 1. Let's go back to the layout. This text here, you can right click and we're going to clone it, and we're going to put the level on the right hand side. So in this text object we're going to say the horizontal alignment is to the right. This is not going to be called score 2, so in the name we can just call it level. The initial value is going to be 1 because we're going to start on level 1, and in the event sheet every tick, like we did with this one, we're now going to say text level, and we're going to say set text, and we're going to set it to our level variable. There. So now whatever that level number is, that text number here is going to update accordingly. I'm going to, instead of controlling the level by the amount of things we kill, I'm going to control it by time. So let's add an event, and let's say system, and let's say every X seconds, and we're going to say every 5 seconds Well, every 3 seconds one of these things are going to spawn, so let's say every 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds we're playing, we're going to say system, and we're going to add to, and we're going to say level, and we're going to say 1. So every 10 seconds we're going to add 1 to the level. Now we can control the spawn rate or the spawn speed based on what level it is. So we can say if level equals 2, set spawn speed to itself minus 0.2. So let's add this in now. So we're going to say add an event, and we're going to compare that, and we're going to compare, we don't need that anymore, we're going to compare the level. So we're going to say if level is equal to 1, I'm going to say system, and we're going to say set value of spawn speed to spawn speed, yeah, just to spawn speed. In fact, no, we're going to say set spawn speed to level divided by, well, if we set the spawn speed to the level, every time we go up it's going to get slower. So if we say minus level, that means that when we're on level 1, hold on a sec, if we set the spawn speed to level, the spawn speed on level 1 is going to be 1 second, on level 2 it's going to be 2 seconds. Let's see what that looks like if we say minus level. Oh my word, look at that, that's crazy. We don't need that, that's nonsense. So every spawn speed seconds, we're going to choose that, so every 3 seconds. Okay, delete that. We can just add it right in here. I'm just being stupid. It's going to be one of those days, guys. So every 10 seconds, we're going to add 1 to level, but we're going to subtract. Why am I making things hard for myself? We're going to subtract from spawn speed. We're going to subtract 0.25. So they're going to get, every 10 seconds, they're going to get slightly faster. That's all we needed to do. I don't know why I went around the houses. Don't judge me. I am smarter than I am appearing in this video. So let's do 10 seconds. We're probably going to need to add a clock up there so we can see. In fact, let's do that so we can see what we're doing. Come back in here. We're going to create this. We're going to click on this text. We're going to clone it like we did before. We're going to pop the timer right in the middle. And then I'm going to center justify this text over here on the horizontal alignment. I'm going to set this at 0. And we're going to set this to text, not level 2. We're going to set this to text clock. Now, back in the event sheet, under every tick, we need to set that text clock to show something. Set text, but we don't have a variable to control the clock, so we're going to add that in. Right click, we're going to add a global variable. We're going to say clock. It's going to be a number, and it's going to be 0. I'm going to come down here, and we're going to create a new event, and we're going to say system. Every 1 second, because that's how long seconds are, we're going to say system, and we're going to add 2, and we're going to add 1 to clock. And now we set the clock text to clock, and now we can see how long we've been playing for. So 0, 1, 2, there we go, there's our timer up there. So we can kill that for 1. When we get to 10 seconds, we should bump up to level 2. There we go. And we are continuing to shoot. These should be getting faster at 20 seconds. Again, they're going to get faster. Let's see what kind of score I get. There we go. So now we're on level 3. Come at me, enemies. They should be getting faster again. There we go. Let's get up to 40. You can already see they're getting faster now. Let's see how fast they get at 60 seconds. Yeah, they're getting a lot faster now. Definitely getting harder. Oh geez, look at this. Yeah, there we go. This is good. This is good. We can use the remaining events now to start polishing this thing up a little bit. So at the moment it's quite basic. We've just got 1 weapon. I'd like to add in potentially a second weapon as well, so we can kind of clear the screen with a bomb, but only if we kind of have bombs, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and select this HUD thing again, this HUD sprite. Drag it, make sure we're on the HUD layer. Drag it in, and I'm going to put this one at the bottom. And this is going to be our kind of item bar. So we're going to see how much of each item we have. So let's create a bomb first. So go back onto the layer 0, double click, let's add a sprite, click anywhere you like. Let's make this one 16 by 16, which will be this, in fact no, 8 by 8, because the enemies are 16 by 16. And let's draw a very simple little looking bomb. Now because the background's dark purple, I want these things to pop, so I'm going to use white for the outline, and I am going to just draw a nice little bomb here, and I'm going to have, in fact, I want it even smaller because I want to be able to draw the fuse at the top there. So we're just going to make it a little square, take the corners off. That's beautiful. And we're going to make it a darker purple, but probably not as dark as the background. In fact, no, I lied, I don't like that. Let's make it blue. We're going to go darker and hue shift towards blue, and perhaps not that much for the bottom. And I'm going to select that color again. I'm going to go lighter and hue shift towards green for the top. And this little thing is going to be a bomb. Perfect. Let's give it a name. SPR_bomb. Now I want these things to spawn in randomly all over the place in here. And then if we shoot one, I want to be able to add bombs to my tally. So let's get the spawning set up first. We know it's called bomb, so let's go back to the event sheet. We can come back down here and we can say every 10 seconds, just to save on events because we've only got 12 left. Well, in fact, what we can do is just to save on events, instead of saying every 10 seconds, that'll be quite regimented. Let's just say if the random number generator chooses, let's say number 1, then we can spawn in a bomb. So we're going to say system, we're going to create object, and we're going to create the bomb on layer 0, and the X coordinate is going to be random. And remember, it's going to be somewhere between the left, which is 0, but because it's 8 pixels wide, I don't want it to spawn half on and half off the screen. So I'm going to start it at 16, so it will never be kind of breaking outside of the layout. And then the same thing on the other side, because the width of this thing is 320, I'm going to minus 16 off of that, and that's going to give me 304 on the X. And now the height is going to be random again. It's going to be random between, and again 0, it's going to be 16 from the top down, and we know that it goes down to 180, so I'm going to put this at 166. And now every time that the random number generator says 1, it's going to spawn a bomb in, and let's see if that works. So remember, 1 is right up here in the middle, so if it comes straight down from the top, we should see a bomb appearing. There it is. And if we shoot the bomb, I think we should we collect it, or should we just, I think it should probably just clear the screen. So we can probably just leave it down there, and then the player can choose, and then there's another one coming in. I think we should shoot it to collect it. So let's do that. What we need to do now is add an icon of this thing on the HUD layer. So if we right click and clone the object, and then when we've cloned it, we can come over here to the properties and make sure it's on the HUD layer this time. And I'm going to put this one over on the left hand side for our bomb. Now for the original one that we had before, I don't like how it's just kind of very static, so we're going to add a behavior to it. Let's add a new behavior, and let's give it the sign behavior, and this is going to enable it to pulse. So on the movement, it's that you can get horizontal, vertical, forwards, backwards, width, height, size. I'm going to click on size, and I'm going to set period 1 and magnitude 1. And effectively what this is, the magnitude is how big the movement is, and the period is how quickly it transverses between the two movements. So I don't think I'm going to be able to preview it, no, because that's an advanced feature. But if I pop it into the level now, you can see that now that it's kind of pulsing in size, which is much nicer, much better to the eye. And as we're talking about things nicer to the eye, we're probably going to jazz up these enemies a little bit, because these look pretty horrendous as they are now. Yeah, but I like that. That's good. We can take that off the screen now and pop it down here. because we don't need that anymore. In fact, let's put it on our objects layer. So we can cut it, Control X, come over to Objects, Control V, and just pop it in there. Up there, that's fine. Come back to layout 1. We know the bombs are going to spawn in. This is now our bomb icon. So we need to create some text, so we can right click and clone the text from the top, bring it down. And now you can see it's going behind the border here. It's because it's on the layer 0. Just be mindful of what layer you're on. So we can click on this now, click on layer 0, select HUD, and now it will sit there nicely next to our bombs. And this text is going to be text underscore bomb. Go back to the event sheet. We're going to add a global variable to control how many bombs we have. I'm going to call this one bombs. It's going to be a number. It's going to start at 0 because we start with 0 bombs. Add an action to our every tick event. So remember, every frame of the game we're updating things. We're going to say that bomb text. We're going to set the value of it. No, we're not. We're going to set the text of it to delete these and start typing the word bomb, and there's your global variable bomb. So every time, every frame of the game, that text now is going to display how many bombs we have. And now we can go back to the event sheet and we can say add an event, and we can say sprite bullet, and we can say on collision with another object, and that object is going to be the bomb. Remember, bomb 2 is our icon in our HUD. So when we shoot the bomb, then we need to system add to bombs 1. We also need to destroy the current bomb on screen. So we can select it, type in destroy, and there's our 2 actions. We also need to destroy the bullet, which we have up here. So bullet destroy. So now when we shoot the bomb, we get bombs. Let's also now add in a function that if we right click the mouse, we blow up everything on screen. So add an event, we can say mouse on click, and it's going to be right click this time. We can go to enemy and we can say destroy, and that should destroy every enemy on screen. We don't have any bombs. We have to wait for a bomb to spawn. Oh, there we go. What luck. So now we have 1. Let's wait for the enemies to come on. There's 1, there's 2, and we destroyed everything. So when we get later on in the game, oh, we didn't subtract from our bombs. We've always got 1 bomb. Well, we can get another one there, 2. So as we get later in the game, when there's more and more enemies on the screen, we can destroy. If it's getting overwhelming, as long as we've got bombs, we have some kind of a fighting chance. Anyway, let's now say on right click, destroy enemy, but we also need to go to system and we need to subtract from bombs 1. Now, when we right click the button, we only want to be able to do that if we have at least 1 bomb. So we're going to need to add a condition. So to do that, remember, we just highlight the text, not the whole thing, just the text. Push C on the keyboard. System, compare variable bombs if it's greater than 0. So if we have 0 bombs, there's absolutely no way we're going to be able to do it. So now I can test it. And right clicking, nothing's happening. There's no way I can. There we go. Now we've got a bomb, and now I should be able to destroy it. Yeah. Now we need some kind of visual representation on screen that we've let off a bomb. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to add a tile background to the HUD layer. So double click, make sure you're on the HUD layer, add a tile background, click anywhere you like. I'm going to resize it to 16 by 16 because I like to keep all my sprites similar sizes. And I am going to select white. I'm going to color the whole thing in white, and I'm going to close it down. And this is going to be a screen flash. So there. Now I'm covering the whole screen with this. I'm going to call it TV_flash. And I want to set the opacity to 60% so we can see through it. I'm going to come down here where it says with the sprite, with the tile background selected, I'm going to come down on the left where it says initially visible, and I'm going to uncheck that so it's not initially visible. Now I'm going to say when the right button is clicked, if we have more than 0 bombs, we're going to add an action. And I just want to check to see if I can add a function. I don't think I can. Oh, I can add a function. So this is going to be called bomb flash. Functions are great if you've got lines of code that repeat regularly throughout the game. You can just put it all in a function and then just call that function when you need it. I don't think I can create more than one. Oh, I can create more than one. Great, okay, that's good to know. So bomb flash is going to be the name of the function, and what's going to happen is we're going to say TB flash. We are going to set visible, but we're only going to set it visible for a split second. So we're going to say system, and we're going to say wait, and we're going to wait 0.2 seconds, and then we're going to say TB flash set visible invisible. So it's going to flash on for 0.2 seconds every time we use a bomb. And we're going to call that function when we right click. So we're going to say functions bomb flash. So let's just test that out and see if that looks okay. Come on, there it is. Right, let's click that bomb, wait for the enemy. There we go, and now he's flashed. I think a little bit of screen shake would work as well. So let's go back to the player. Oh, because we've got this sprite on top now, it's going to stop us from clicking on things. So what I might do is I might set this on the layer 0, so it's underneath the HUD, and I want to right click and I'm going to go Z order and center bottom. Oh, also our top HUD here is on, mine's on layer 0. Just make sure that's on the HUD and at the bottom. Okay, I think that's better actually. Then the screen goes white behind the HUD. I think that's going to work a little bit better. Click on the player. Let's add another behavior, or the first behavior, and we're going to add scroll to. Now we're not going to be moving around, but I do want the scroll to behavior so I can add in screen shake. I just need to make sure its position now is right bang in the middle of the screen. Now it's 360. It's 320 by 180, so I need his X position to be 160 and I need his Y position to be 90, and then he's bang in the middle of the screen. Now with screen shake you need to have some kind of bleed around the outside. If your viewport is exactly the same size as the layout, you're not going to get screen shake, and I'm going to show you that now. So if we go back into the event sheet, when we right click, we're going to call this function. We could just put the screen shake in here, but we may as well put it in as part of the function anyway. So we're going to say player, and we're going to say shake. It's right there. It defaults to something pretty decent anyway, so I'm going to leave it in there. Now when we, in fact, let me give myself a starting bomb, so I don't have to wait for those things to spawn. Start myself with 1. So now, yeah, you can see it flashes in the background, but we don't shake. And you need a bit of bleed on the outside, or the only other way to do it is check unbounded scrolling. There you go. And that adds a little bit more of a juicy effect. Right, okay. So we've got the screen shake in, we've got the white flash on the background. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to leave it there for this one. In the next episode, we're going to continue to add more polish. We'll see about adding maybe a couple more items that the player can pick up. And we're going to do something about these ugly looking enemies as well. So I'll see you in the next episode.